Next inductor, you may know him as a world-class political satirist, comedian, actor. He's a part-time inventor. You know his work from A Current Affair, from the 7:30 Report. You may not know, this guy got his first break, and it's so important, your first break in the biz. This man, now a legend of world comedy, got his first break in the business in the 1972 Australian comedy classic, The Adventures of Barry Mackenzie, playing a urinating expatriate. Give it up to induct the great Split Enz. Give it up for John Clarke.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll be going for the Brevity Award this evening. I am here to induct, what a very attractive verb, a very remarkable group of citizens. From the beginning in the 1970s, Split Enz were different. They were insane for a kick-off. But everything about them was different. The music was different, the look was different, the performance style was completely unique, and their understanding of the importance of the visual in things people are looking at was about a century ahead of its time. It was part art school, part nervous breakdown, part wall of sound. And from the beginning it was a creative powerhouse, and as time went by, unremarkably, a huge number of interesting things came out of it. Some of the best songwriting I can think of came out of it. Other groups came out of it, film scores came out of it, production came out of it, petrol for Noel's car came out of it, and they don't look like stopping any time soon. Now, as their name might suggest, they are from a sporting country, and for about 30 years now, they have written and sung about their thoughts and feelings and experience, and a lot of that has been about their love of this part of the world. And they've been claimed and are constantly claimed by both countries, and that's rightly so and fair enough. But to a New Zealander like myself, these boys are the musical All Blacks. Ladies and gentlemen, Split Enz.
After developing a fanatical following in New Zealand in the early 70s, Split Enz headed for Australia. During the first year, they found a lot they weren't really expecting. The whole Australian rock scene was coming alive and bursting with enthusiasm. At the time, pub rock was all the go.
We developed a cult following almost immediately, and people were obsessed about us.
Mushroom Records supremo Michael Gudinski saw their potential and offered them a record contract.
So that was a big break for us at the time, to be associated with Mushroom Records, who at the time were just so strong and so cocky and kind of young, and you know, there was a lot of energy there.
Soon, Split Enz's first album, Mental Notes, was released. Then Phil Manzanera from Roxy Music volunteered to produce their follow-up album in the UK. So early in '76, the Enz left for London. It was just as punk rock was rearing its snotty head. Swimming against the violent musical tide of the time, Split Enz recorded Second Thoughts. With no live work, the Enz left London, and in early '77 they went to America, where Fleetwood Mac was all the musical rage. Touring was tough for them, and no longer enjoying live performance, co-founder Phil Judd left the band. His replacement was Neil Finn.
I just started another band, so I had to give it, 5 minutes or so just to think about it. But
by the time Dysrhythmia was released in 1977, Split Enz had reinvented itself.
We sort of plunged into this void where we had no management, no record company, no money, etc., etc. It was at the beginning of '78, that tough year, which was sort of the making of the band.
Frenzy came out in 1979. Then the Enz returned from the UK to make a memorable performance on Countdown.
The band was playing the songs really well. We were deliberately stripping things back, and we were sick of the kind of excesses of time changes, colour changes and all of that.
In 1980 came the runaway success of True Colours, which sold over 300,000 copies in Australia. I Got You was the highest selling single of the year.
That's all I want. Became pretend blasé quite quickly. Oh, #1 again this week, #1 album, #1 single. We just end up walking around like this.
The Enz returned to England triumphant to play to a sellout crowd at London's Hammersmith Odeon. Then came Corroboree in Australia, known as Waiata in the rest of the world, and the Waiata World Tour. In 1982, Split Enz delivered the landmark album Time and Tide. Conflicting Emotions came out in '83 and delivered more hits. In 1984, Split Enz co-founder Tim Finn jumped ship, and soon after recording See You Round, the Enz split.
The idea of not being in Split Enz without Tim, just couldn't face it, really.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd love to do another one.
Later in '84, Tim Finn returned for the sellout Celebration Ends With a Bang tour. Split Enz were totally unique in the contemporary music world. Over 12 years and 9 albums, they combined art, theatre and music like no other band. And they left legions of dedicated friends of the Enz around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Split Enz.
Thank you, John. Everyone should be up here, but there's quite a few that are down there still. We've got a lot of us in here tonight. It's about 10. But I'd like to thank you for this honour on behalf of all the 15 members of Split Enz. John's rugby analogy was not too far off the mark. See if I can get it right. Miles Golding, Mike Howard, Mike Chun, Philip Judd, Jeffrey Chun, Wally Wilkinson, Noel Crombie, Eddie Rayner, Paul Crowther, Rob Gillies, Malcolm Green, Nigel Griggs, Neil Finn, Paul Hester, and myself, Tim, full of vim to the brim and nimble at that. Thank you, Australia. You've always had a generous heart for Split Enz. And we changed our spelling from ENDS to ENZ when we crossed the Tasman. We're proud to be from New Zealand, but Australia is really a second home for us, and without you guys, we wouldn't have become the band that we were at all. So we've always been grateful for that. It's great it's in Melbourne tonight. I remember our first gig in Melbourne. We drove down from Sydney the night before and got woken up at 11 in the morning by a tour manager going, "Get up, guys, it's a midday gig." We thought it was a nighttime show. We were supporting AC/DC and Skyhooks. We got booed off the stage, almost. And Magda Zubanski told me years later that she had been in the crowd. She was a Sharpie at the time. And she had joined in the booing but secretly loved us. We were a secret pleasure for some in those early days. But we started to gain some momentum around '79. I remember playing to no one in Shepparton one night. That kind of kept us honest. The amazing thing was that our tour manager didn't come back and say, "Guys, there's no one out there. Maybe we should hold the show." So it was all a good trail, lots of ups and downs, pathos to bathos, vainglorious, noble. We've been inducted. And sometimes being in a band is like being abducted. The thoroughly alien Noel Crombie experimenting on us for 10 years. And when it's all over, you're not really sure where you went or who did what to whom. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Michael, Mushroom, everybody at Mushroom. Thank you, Frank Stavala, Premier Artists. Thank you, Peter Green, Barry Coburn, people that kick-started the band, and lots of people along the way. And thanks to all the crew. I'd like to dedicate this award to the road crews and just try and remember them from time to time. Male to female, jack to jack, plastic cups, speaker stacks, gaffer tape, cymbal stands, broken strings, bleeding hands, working for the band. Thank you.